Most Shopify store owners set up sales tax in about 15 minutes and assume that they're covered. They toggle on tax collection, enter a state or two, and then they move on to the next item on their launch checklist. And to be fair, Shopify makes it feel like that's all you need to do. But here's the thing, setting up tax collection in Shopify is not the same as being tax compliant. To understand why, you need to know what Shopify's built-in tax tool actually does and where it stops. Now, Shopify comes with a native built-in tax calculation tool called Shopify Tax. It's included on every store, but it won't start collecting until you configure it. So you still need to enter your tax registrations and tell Shopify which states you have Nexus in before it charges anything at checkout. Now, once you set up, Shopify Tax figures out the correct rate and collects that amount from your customer. Now, for businesses selling in 1 or 2 states, Shopify Tax would work great. But as you scale into more states and more channels, the gap between collecting tax and fully compliant gets wider fast. Now, in this video, I will walk through the full Shopify Tax setup step by step. I'll explain exactly where Shopify's native solutions stop and cover what growing businesses need to stay compliant as they scale. So let's walk through the actual setup. Now, there are 7 steps here, and most of them take just a few minutes, but there are a couple that trip people up, so I'll flag those as we go. Step 1 is the one that most people miss entirely. You need to enable charge tax on this product at the product level. So go to your products page, select a product, scroll to the tax section, and toggle that on. Now, if you skip this, Shopify Tax won't collect anything at checkout no matter what else you configure. Now, for stores with large catalogs, you can do this in bulk edit to save time. Step 2 is activating your tax service. Go to settings, then taxes and duties. For most stores, Shopify Tax is already active by default. You'll also see a manual tax option, which is a legacy setting where you'd maintain your own rates. So the vast majority of businesses should stick with Shopify Tax. You might also notice third-party options like Avalara and Vertex listed under apps. Now, while researching this, I found that Shopify has been pulling back support for third-party tax calculation inside the platform. So, if you're considering one of those enterprise tools, verify exactly what they can still do within Shopify today. Some capabilities that used to exist have been deprecated. Step 3 is adding the states where you're registered. So this is the most important aspect because you need a sales tax permit or license in each state before you can legally collect. So go to settings, taxes and duties, click United States, then click collect sales tax. Select each state where you hold a permit and enter your tax ID. Repeat for every state where you have Nexus. Step 4 is configuring your product categories. Shopify uses these to determine the correct tax rate, and getting this wrong means collecting the wrong amount. Shopify Tax auto-suggests categories based on your product descriptions, but you should review them. Now, this is especially important for categories with common exemptions or special rules, things like clothing, groceries, as well as digital goods. Step 5 is shipping tax. Some states tax shipping charges, others don't. Shopify handles this automatically for the most part, but it's worth knowing that states like California, Colorado, Florida, and Illinois all have specific shipping tax rules. So the default setting in Shopify is to charge sales tax on shipping, and for most businesses, leaving it checked it's the right call. Step 6 is reviewing Shopify's liability insights dashboard. So this is where early warning system for economic nexus. So it will show you where your sales stand against each state's nexus threshold, so you can see when you're approaching a new filing obligation. So check this monthly, but there's a major limitation that I'll get to in a moment. And step 7, verify that everything is actually working. Create a test order using a customer address in one of your registered states. Go to checkout without completing the purchase and confirm tax appears correctly in the order summary. If it doesn't, go back and check that the product has charge tax enabled and that the state is configured with your tax ID. So that's the full setup. If you follow all 7 steps, Shopify Tax will calculate and collect the right amount at checkout across all the US jurisdictions where you're registered. Now that the setup is done, let's talk about what you're actually getting with Shopify Tax, because the boundaries, they matter. So on the calculation side, Shopify Tax is solid. It provides rooftop, accurate rates across more than 11,000 US jurisdictions. It updates rates automatically as states change their rules. It suggests product categories to help you apply the right exemptions, and it includes that liability insights dashboard for tracking your Shopify sales against economic nexus thresholds. So for the calculation piece, it works. Now, where it stops is everything that happens after calculation. So registration. Shopify won't register you for a sales tax permit. So you need to do that yourself in each state where you have Nexus. Filing. Shopify does offer automated sales tax filing through its official partner, but the filing fees can add up quickly, especially as you grow into more states. Remittance, the tax that you collect, doesn't get sent to states on your behalf, so you're responsible for that. And audit support, if a state comes knocking or sending you a notice, Shopify won't help you with preparing the right documents or defend you. There's also the multi-channel issue. So Shopify's liability insights dashboard only tracks Shopify sales. So if you also sell on Amazon, Etsy, TikTok, or any other marketplace, those sales count toward your economic nexus thresholds, but they won't show up in Shopify's dashboard. So that's a blind spot that catches a lot of growing businesses off guard. Now, one thing worth noting, unlike Amazon or Etsy, Shopify is not a marketplace facilitator. So those platforms that collect and remit sales tax on your behalf for orders that are placed through their marketplaces. Shopify doesn't. The compliance responsibility stays with you as the seller. So at what point do you actually need something beyond Shopify Tax? Now, while researching this, I kept seeing the same patterns come up. Now, here are the 5 clearest signs. First, your online business needs to file in 5 or more states. Now, at that point, the manual work of logging into the state portals, preparing the returns, and then tracking deadlines, well, it becomes a meaningful time commitment every single month. Second, your business sells across several channels. So if your sales are split across Shopify, Amazon, Etsy, or anywhere else, you need a single platform that consolidates all of that data into one accurate view. So Shopify can't do that on its own. Third, Shopify taxes per transaction fees are adding up. Shopify Tax is free for your first 100,000 in annual sales, but above that, per transaction charges start to stack. And for the higher volume businesses, those costs become material. Fourth, you're spending more than a few hours a month on compliance work. So if you're manually downloading reports, cross-referencing marketplace data, logging into state portals, and then tracking filing deadlines, that's the time that you could be spending on your business. And fifth, your filing fees are going up every quarter. And it's because you keep crossing nexus thresholds in new states. As you grow, the number of states where you owe sales tax only increases. Without an efficient filing and remittance solution, those costs scale with your expansion. So if 2 or more of those apply to you, then it's probably time to look at a dedicated compliance platform. Filing is one of the most time-consuming and critical parts of sales tax compliance. Getting calculation right at checkout, it matters, but it's the filing, the preparing returns, the meeting deadlines, remitting to each state, and that takes real time and real money. So that's why it's worth understanding what your options look like before you commit. So when you do start looking at filing options, here's the landscape. The first option is Shopify's native filing, which is handled through a third-party partner. Now, it's available in select states and works well for businesses filing in just a few. But per return fees are on the higher side and it doesn't cover every state. The second option is a dedicated filing platform that handles the full compliance lifecycle: registration, filing, remittance, nexus tracking, and multi-channel consolidation. Now, these are purpose-built for online businesses that are growing fast across states and channels. So this is where platforms like TaxCloud fit. The third option is an enterprise provider. Companies like Avalara or Vertex that serve larger operations with complex ERP environments. Now, these tend to come with longer implementation timelines, higher costs, and in some cases, additional fees just for the Shopify integration itself. The fourth option is a CPA or accounting firm that specializes in e-commerce. So if you already have a trusted CPA relationship, then they can handle the filings for you, but costs per state tend to be higher than automated platforms, and turnaround, it can vary. Now, the biggest differentiator across all of these is whether the option that you can choose can onboard your business in the streamlined sales tax or SST program. Now, SST allows eligible businesses to file for free in up to 24 member states. So that's a structural cost advantage that compounds as you file in more states. If you're a Shopify business that's outgrown basic sales tax setup and you're looking for a platform that keeps you 100% compliant, TaxCloud is worth evaluating. Now, TaxCloud is a certified service provider under the SST program, which means eligible businesses can file for free in all 24 SST member states. Now, that alone can save businesses thousands of dollars a year in filing fees, and the savings scale as you expand into more states. Beyond SST, TaxCloud handles the full compliance workflow. So when your sales cross a new state's nexus threshold, TaxCloud manages the registration process. It also consolidates sales data from Amazon, Etsy, TikTok, and other channels into one platform, not just Shopify data. It generates, submits, and remits returns automatically in all 50 states. So your complete filing history and transaction records are organized and available if a state initiates an audit. The way it works is Shopify Tax continues to handle your tax calculations at checkout. TaxCloud doesn't replace that. It picks up where Shopify Tax stops: nexus tracking, registration, filing, remittance, and multi-channel sales consolidation. For businesses that are scaling and want compliance handled in the background without enterprise pricing, TaxCloud is purpose-built for that. So here's what to take away from this. Setting up Shopify Tax correctly is straightforward. Enable tax on your products, activate Shopify Tax, add your sales tax licenses, configure your product categories, and then verify collection at checkout. So that gets you compliant on the calculation side. But calculation is only one piece of the compliance picture. Filing, registration, remittance, multi-channel tracking, and audit support are also your responsibility, and Shopify doesn't fully handle those for you. As your business grows across states and channels, those gaps become expensive if you're managing them manually. So if you're at the point where compliance is taking real time, real money, a dedicated platform like TaxCloud can automate the entire life cycle, and the SST program can significantly reduce what you're paying in filing fees. So I have went ahead and I've linked the full Shopify sales tax setup guide and TaxCloud's Shopify integration page in the description below for those who want to know more.